Yeah, so the biggest problem that we face as a species is you have a brain that is essentially outdated. The algorithms that you're running are meant to keep you safe from a lion jumping out of a bush, and the scarcity mindset when it comes to food, and you are neurochemically rewarded when you find something with a lot of salt and fat, and so you go crazy and eat as much as you can. And gorging made a lot of sense, you know, whatever, 50,000 years ago, when you never knew where your next meal was going to come. So you should take on as much caloric density as humanly possible. Now, when there's a store around every corner, that really becomes a problem. And we're seeing that problem play out now. So it's understanding that your brain is this magical organ that lives in total darkness, in total silence, and yet by transforming the inputs that it gets into electrochemical impulses, it creates a very realistic representation of the world. But once I realized that it's a representation, it is not the real world. And so the great example, where your optic fiber connects to your eye, you actually have a dime-sized blank spot in your field of vision, and yet you don't perceive it at all. That's crazy. Yeah. And that's your brain going, this is what I think would be there. And it just slots it in.
Yeah, and if anyone ever wants to test that, you can put like 2 X's on a piece of white paper and like maybe 10 centimeters apart and move it, and it just disappears. Yeah. And it fills it in with whatever the background is. It's like it's playing this game on you.
That is, you have said it so well. Your brain is playing a game on you, which I call the Matrix. And you're in the Matrix. Have you ever heard the David Foster Wallace speech, "This is Water"?
No.
Oh, dude, you got a great one coming for you. Okay. Listen to it. It's amazing. And the whole speech is about how a fish is the last one to realize that he's in water. It's so ubiquitous, it's so a part of his life that he totally takes it for granted, like us with air, right? We're moving through it all the time, but yet it had to be actually discovered at one point. So there are things in your belief system that are that ubiquitous, that ever-present, that much of a foundational building block of who you are, that you don't even question it. Like, I'll give you an example. Suffering is meant to be avoided. That doesn't seem controversial, right? Saying it to you because of your mixed martial arts like background, you're like, I'm not so sure.
Starting to go
but
Buddhist as well, but yeah.
Average person is going to be like, yeah, obviously. Suffering, move away from suffering, move towards pleasure, right? I'm here to tell you, if you do that your whole life will be a misery. So you've got to find a way to better understand from a neurological perspective how you respond to suffering. So suffering will break many people. So for many people, it is because they don't know how to cognitively deal with it, it will just break them. But for some people, it will supercharge them, right? And so if you, Man's Search for Meaning, have you read that?
Yeah, a long
Victor
time
Frankl,
ago. Yeah.
Incredibly powerful book. You have a neuroscientist, I can't remember if he's actually a neurosurgeon, but certainly a neuroscientist, who goes into Auschwitz and starts taking a clinical look around. And he realizes he can predict within 72 hours who's going to die. And he said, you'd see them give up. And he said the moment they gave up, they'd be dead in 72 hours. And I thought, that is insane. And he said the whole thing is when somebody knew why they were fighting, and I think it's Nietzsche that says, once you know your why, you can suffer anyhow. Like, when you know what you're trying to get to, the why you're existing, why you're going through the suffering, all of that, you'll push through, even Auschwitz. And so he said when he could hold on to that thing, like it was worth fighting for, and he would keep going. And that would drive him. And in that, you grow and you become stronger. So when you put yourself in a position of suffering, that is when your body responds to stressors. And somehow people understand this in bodybuilding. Nobody thinks I'm going to pick up a bag of groceries and look like Dorian Yates, right? Like, nobody thinks that. So you've got to go in, you've got to put your muscles under massive stress, routinely tear the tissue, build it back up, like it's a process. But people get it. It starts with a stressor. But when it comes to the mind, for whatever reason, people try to optimize for ease. And they don't try to put themselves, so like I did a 3-day fast not too long ago. A 3-day fast sucks. And the whole point of doing it is to suffer. Because in the suffering, you will be forced to either give up and quit and recognize I am a quitter, which is at least honest. If people are willing to accept it, they probably won't. They'll come up with all kinds of excuses. But you quit, or you made it through. And to make it through, you've got to come up with a tactic. And this is fascinating. And they've done this with, do you know the marshmallow test?
Yeah.
So the Stanford experiment, put a kid with a marshmallow, say you can eat it anytime you want. I'm going to step out for a minute. I'm going to come back. If you wait to eat it till I come back, I'll give you a second marshmallow. They're never coming back. When they walk out of the room, they're just going to wait and see how long it takes you to eat it, right? Fascinating. And kids like come up, oh, they sing to themselves, they cover their eyes, they do all kinds of stuff to not be distracted by it. Some of them like bite the underside and try to hide that they've bitten some of it. I mean, they like try to come up with all these incredible little tactics and tricks to make it seem like, or to actually have waited and delayed their gratification. And then the scores later, because they followed these kids for like 25 years, and the scores later were so correlated to their ability to put it off longer. So the kids that waited the longest to eat the marshmallow do the best in school, get the best highest paying jobs. I mean, it's nuts. And so what I'm saying is you can get better at not eating the marshmallow. And so that's really the goal, is teaching people, learning the tactics through suffering, how to not eat the marshmallow for longer and longer and longer, whatever your marshmallow is.
Continue watching this fascinating conversation for free by clicking on the link below to visit our website, learn from the best minds in the world, and connect with a community of passionate people building the best versions of themselves. Just click on the link below, and I'll see you on the inside.